And we're live.
Oh, nice.
So,
So we're being watched now by your
I know, man.
yeah.
How do you do this? Do you usually do like a formal intro, or are we just? It's off?
This is as formal as I get. I basically just say, "Used to introduce yourselves."
Oh, Jesus.
For me doing that, sometimes I have guests on that I know fuck all about and I can't be asked researching, so I just go, "Used to introduce yourselves."
There you go, man. Make them do the work. I like it.
Yeah, I stopped doing all that bio shit on my own podcast. So I'm like, yeah, tell us about you, who you do, and all that stuff. Saves me the trouble, man.
All right. Well, I mean, I'm Dave the Clone from the Hollow9ine Network. I basically am the CEO and founder over there. I have a whole bunch of people who help me out as well, who are really awesome at what they do. And we do mostly fandom podcasting, but we have a couple awesome things in the works. We're kind of developing some new original stuff, and we're going to be doing a relaunch this month in July. So keep an eye out for hollow9.com.
Awesome. And I'm Xavi, founder of BrandedPod. What we do is we produce podcasts for consultants and digital agencies. I'm trying to niche it down to those two industries, and it's pretty much done for you. We do everything from basically they just record and hand it over to us, and we take care of everything for them. So yeah, and I'm also the host of my own podcast, the Agency Lounge. I'm gonna be changing the name soon, rebranding that, and yeah, I just interview agency owners and consultants. You know the drill for tips and tricks on how to run an agency and all that stuff. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. You must meet some really cool people.
You also must meet some really, arseholes.
Yeah, but there's got to be some cool ones in there. Otherwise, the whole world would have fallen apart by now.
Actually, let me see. Have I met anyone that I would say has been an ass? They've all been nice. I haven't met. I do plan to start.
Let me caveat that with everyone who's ever paid for our services has been very nice. Everyone who's going to pay for them soon is very nice as well. And everyone who will be paying in the future, I know you're going to be nice.
You're going to be nice, man. They're all brilliant people. I have nothing bad to say about none of them.
There you go. Gotta be nice. That's the slogan for the rebrand right there. You gotta be nice. Boom!
It's just slightly different from my slogan, which is "Go fuck yourself."
Is that your actual slogan? Yeah.
It's one of them. Yeah.
The T-shirts are being printed up right now.
I say that to my audience, let alone the guests.
Oh, good. You gotta love this era, though. You could get away with stuff like that now. I'm
being super unprofessional. I'm eating potato chips and drinking on the mic. This is like ridiculous. I would be pissed at myself if I was watching it.
I've got my energy drink, so that's cool.
Is that some thunder muscle? Have you ever watched the increasingly poor decisions of Todd Margaret? The thunder muscle. Oh God, you got to watch that show if you haven't watched it. It's on Netflix.
What show is that? What's the name?
It's called The Increasingly Poor Decisions of Todd Margaret, and it's all about him being thrown into a situation where he has to sell an energy drink that looked an awful lot like the can you held up. So I was like, no shit, there's real thunder muscle. Oh my God, this is happening. What is happening? Why?
Oh, Jesus.
I gotta tell you right now already, my favorite part of this is that I can actually say that I've havered now. Whenever I hear the proclaimers, I can be like, I've done that. I've havered. I didn't know what it was until now. Now I know.
Really cool, man. Really, really cool. I mean, Drew said it was okay, so I'm like, yeah, sure, why not? I'm gonna.
Anything goes.
Anything goes.
That's the point of the show. Yeah.
Is that what havering is though? Like, what does the term actually mean?
Basically, talking shit or gossiping or whatever, that type of thing. Yeah, shit talk.
Shit talk.
Yeah.
It sounds better than shit talk with Drew Carson, though. Like the haver. Or shit talk with Drew Carson actually wouldn't be a bad spin-off, man.
Actually, that's actually a really good name for it.
I was going to do a show that was going to be me plus 3 guests, and it was just going to be called The Four Cunts, but that didn't fly.
Actually, I think just me and 3 guests is actually a pretty badass title. Me and 3 guests. Drew Carson.
That's Jesus. That's one thing I do love about podcasting, though. You could do stuff like that. It's all independent, and you're literally like, just do fuck all, just do whatever you want, whatever works, whatever catches on. I love that about podcasting.
And the thing is, people are always worried about offending sponsors or whatever, but if your show's getting good download numbers or whatever, sponsors will come.
True.
I mean, we have all these premium cable stations where they show some of the most debaucherous shit on earth, and those networks still get sponsors. You know what I mean? It's like there's still money flowing behind the entertainment. I think one of the things I've always loved about podcasting, especially the way, because I've been podcasting since even 2006 when it was super brand new. Before the resurgence and sort of transformation of podcasting into what it is today, when it was just a bunch of people just fucking around with their microphone and putting out. You would have like groups of 5 people getting together and just doing a 2-hour drunken conversation about video games or something, and people were downloading it. So whatever, it was like fun. But I just remember always feeling like, how cool is it that I have basically a radio station right now? Like my computer, my apartment at the time in 2006, whenever my friends were over, we'd be playing video games or watching a movie. We're like, guys, want to just record a podcast? And it would just be, but we would at least kind of almost treat it like we were in a radio station, like, okay, I'm at the board, you guys ready? And we're going in 3, 2, 1. And even though this is going to be recorded and it's going to be edited, and I'm going to throw music in after the fact and some soundtracks or whatever, sound effects and whatever, we at least just kind of brought it like as if we were kind of chilling on a talk show. And just the fact that we could do that, like, to me at the time, I wasn't thinking like, how do I make this make me $1 million? I was more like, how do I let this get my voice out there and let me have fun, and hopefully people who watch it are entertained by it and tell me, keep doing this because we're having fun listening too. So that's kind of what kept me around even still through the sort of resurgence. Like, I think kind of what you were describing about your show seems like you're in the sort of what the new school of podcasting is all about. It's sort of like kind of like reaching out, connecting businesses and connecting people with ideas how to expand their businesses. And I'm like, I'm still trying to just do like UHF meets, the 2017, a pocket version of UHF that you could take around, except obviously no one will be as good as Weird Al. No one will be as good as Weird Al.
He's awesome. Yeah. But yeah, it's true. You're very spot on with that. Like, I'm in fact, this is my first. I'm normally the one interviewing people, so this is my second one, which I'm actually a guest. And it's so fun, man. I do have an idea for a second show because I'm into music as well. And that one is gonna be pretty much chill. In fact, if you want to do cocaine on the show, man, seriously, help yourself.
They were doing cocaine when they were making the music.
So it's pretty much gonna be this kind of vibe, but for the music industry, and you could do that because you haven't got a boss to tell you or a director to direct you. You just do whatever the fans want to see from me, and then you do that. Really cool. Really like that. So awesome.
It's like I've had a guest on in the past where they've been, bullshitting and making stuff up to go along. So I just like hang up on them. And that's the episode, because I know that's what my fans want.
I love that shit, dude. Sorry, this one was only 2 minutes long because the guest sucked. I'm sorry, I'm out. Well, everybody, we just executed this fucking guy, so don't worry about it.
I insult them and see how long they'll stay on the line for.
Do you mute it so that they can't hear that you're still talking shit about them while they're still answering the first thing you said? You should totally play games.
No, I just say it to their face. I don't care.
Fearless with Drew Carson. We're gonna come up with 1 million names for this show by the end of this episode. This is gonna go Fearless with Drew Carson.
We've got some questions coming in.
All right.
Best and worst guests you've ever had on your shows, and what made them good or shit? That guy is really good at constructing a sentence there. Fucking hell. Did you go to school?
You just won worst question ever on a podcast until the next shitty one comes up. No offense, but thanks for the question. And also a fuck you for the road.
It's a great question, though. It is a great question. It's gonna get me thinking.
I don't know. I almost feel bad like calling out the worst guest like by name, but I know for a fact that anyone who's listened to the work we put out in the last year has unanimously told me which guest was the worst. So if you check out our Spotlight series, very early in that series, there's an episode that'll just stand out right away. It's like, oh shit. And I've been like, I actually had a podcaster from the PDC. Shout out to the PDC guys, I guess. That actually kind of like said, hey, I checked out your stuff, and dude, that one interview, man, you should get a medal for trudging through that. And I was like, I know, right? He goes, yeah, you were giving her a lot of opportunities to answer questions, and it just wasn't happening. And I'm like, yeah, dude, I don't even know how to explain it. It's I've seen people freeze up. I've seen people forget what they wanted to say in the middle of what they wanted to say, but I can't even describe it. This isn't even a shameless plug to go check my stuff out. I'm just saying, you have to hear it, and then you'll be like, oh, this is what he was talking about. Got it. Got it, coach.
That's it. It at my end, yeah, because of all my guests are awesome. They're very nice.
We're learning well here. I like it.
They're all awesome. In terms of worst guest, I think I'm pretty much the worst because I don't think I'm a great host. So, but my guests are awesome. If that means anything, if that makes anything.
That's a very safe way to play that, my friend. I think Drew's going to take points off in the end here.
I don't play it safe. I've got a whole list.
I'm trying to think of an interview I've done that. Okay, yeah, I had this one where I had to really push the guy, like you were speaking about with your friend. I had to really, the vibe just wasn't there. The chemistry just wasn't there, and and then it was quite tense, and he was just into his one-liners, and me, I'm not like the best host. I pretty much ask my one-liner. I expect you to fill that up with to carry on. But he was a bit on the one-liner thing, and it didn't just flow well. So at the end of the interview, it's like, thanks for coming on. Bye for now. Bye. And it was a thing, So that has to be my worst. Besides that, though, I've had fun with some of the guests on there.
Yeah,
really cool.
I think some of my best ones were ones that were done like in person at Comic-Cons and stuff. I got to interview Sean Bean. It was only like 3.5 minutes, but he survived it. We both survived it. It was fucking awesome. And even though we were talking about the show he was on called Legends, the very last thing I said to him was Ned Stark forever. And now all of a sudden, all over, and I'm not saying because this is over 1.5 years ago now. This is 2015.
Okay.
But there's all these theories coming out now about how, like, plausibly how Ned Stark could actually still be alive on Game of Thrones. And I was like, no fucking way. That's just full on fan love right there. That might have brought a character back to life. Just like through the zeitgeist. I'm not saying I did it. I'm just saying I hope it happens. But, just from the majesty of who he was, like he, I think, is my biggest get so far. So he kind of automatically gets the top spot. But for a 2-minute interview, we talked about a lot of stuff. We got a lot of stuff on tape. So it was pretty cool.
Very nice. That'll
be released at some point in the near future. Part of the relaunch from the vault. All the stuff we never showed you.
Nice. Brilliant. Is yours a video podcast as well, or is it audio?
It's audio only right now, but we would do video of the interviews that we did at Comic-Con. So it's going to be kind of a hybrid of both. Like, I actually really like what Drew's doing here with Behavior. So I'm going to ape a little bit of that and turn our, we had a podcast that we called Marvel vs. DC, which is just a general anything you want to talk about comic books, but often pitting Marvel and DC against each other. So I think I want to turn that into like a podcasters roundtable every 2 weeks, you know, stream that out for our YouTube channel. So I like the interactivity. Like, I like the fact that we're getting questions live from people right now.
So true.
I like that people could say, Dave, stop eating potato chips and burping on the mic. It is the most unprofessional shit we've ever seen in our lives. What are you doing? And you're hawking your own network at the same time? You scumbag.
Some of the comments are stuff like, Drew, do not tell your Dirk Benedict story again. I guess I've said it more than once.
But I haven't heard it, so I'd love to hear it right now.
I was just gonna say that, like, you know, what is the story actually? Let's hear it.
Basically, the long and the short of it is, he tried to hold me up for money for appearing on my podcast after we recorded it. So
afterwards, wow, shit.
Yeah. So I basically called him out on it and said very nasty stuff about him on the internet.
And then did you wind up not releasing the recording, or?
Yeah, I couldn't release it.
Wow,
that sucks, dude.
But on the plus side, I've dined out on that story for a while. Apparently, I would just like to say,
I'll tell you what.
To Donkey Punch for life, go fuck yourself.
Donkey Punch for life, huh?
For
life. Like, that's your move for life. That's your go-to move. Like, hey, first time you're at my place, let me show you around. All right, now this is where the donkey punching happens. She's like, what? The donkey punching. What? You haven't been donkey punched? No. All right, well, you're going to get donkey punched in a little while. You might want to Google it, but I've locked the door. So you're in for the long haul. Get ready.
There's nothing good that can come out from that name, to be honest.
That's what I'm saying. I hope his internet history is being investigated right now.
It's worrying the people that follow me on social media.
And I just gave that guy a fucking memorial right there. Donkey Puncher for life just disappeared off the grid. We have no idea what happened to him. The cartel's like, yeah, what the fuck, dude? We donkey punch, not you. We donkey punch.
Okay, we've got another question. Who would be your top guest of all time if you could book them?
Wow.
I just want to point one thing out. That makes us sound completely fucking Mickey Mouse that we couldn't book this guest. You know what I mean? Again, what's with the people that follow me on social media? Fuck you, I could book someone. Maybe.
Oh my god. I feel like I probably could have booked guests until I ate potato chips throughout this whole recording so far. So maybe
could have booked guests until they came on a show with me, and then after that, sponsorships leave, guests leave.
Thicken the skin, people. Thicken the skin. Well, I would want Adam Carolla because he's the god of podcasting right now. So I'd love him just to kind of bless the Hollow9ine Network and what we were doing. If he so happens to feel compelled to, that would be pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Not to be too
really good. Yeah.
Too blatant with how I'm kissing the industry's ass right there really bad. Go, man.
It's funny because of that's cool. It's funny because my answer is kind of similar. It depends on the podcast I'm hosting anyway. If it's my business one, then I'll love to see if I could get Gary V on there. That would be like a big get for me. If it's my other one, it will have to be like a porn star or something like him. That would be one of the ones I'll go for. So it totally depends on the podcast what the podcast is about.
Like business guru or porn star, and some of them are both.
Don't get them mixed up.
Some of them are both. And the Jameson is both.
Very, very true. You don't want to get that mixed up.
This is the truth. She is. Like, apparently, like, you ever see there was a documentary they did, and she was talking about how she'll be out at clubs or restaurants or whatever during big events, and people, like guys, will come up to her and be like, "Oh my God, I would love to work with you. I'm amazing. You have no idea. I'd put Peter North to shame." And she's just like, "All right, drop your pants and get hard right now."
Oh, wow.
And when they can't do it, she's like, "All right, that's what being a porn star is, though." So,
Actually,
you know,
Someone says that to Tito Ortiz all the time.
so you got to be ready to put your money where your mouth is. There,
It's true,
And-
true.
And he probably goes, wait till I take the blue pill.
yeah, exactly right.
I don't give a fuck if I'm offending people. For me, I don't know, from a horror podcast, someone like Bruce Campbell or something would be pretty good for the show. For this, anyone that's willing to listen to me fucking talk.
I tell you, I don't want to be accused of slander down the road, but I wouldn't be surprised if Bruce were to pull a Dirk Benedict on you after the recording. He's definitely kind of he's hard to get access to. Is what I've experienced in the past.
I don't get the logic though. Why would you want money to be interviewed? Like, what is?
I don't know. We had a weird vibe the whole way through. I'm me no matter what, so it's like take it or leave it type thing. And at some point, I must have offended him during it or something. But basically, it was like we did something like in 18 minutes, and he wanted something like 20 grand or something like that.
What? Oh my God! Wow! Wow!
And my response was, "I should have fucking booked Mr. T."
Yeah,
and I was like, period of forward, then book Mr. T.
Damn.
With the 20 grand, yeah. Well, how the fuck, man? No fuck.
He certainly lost face that day.
What is this? Like,
it's like so many celebrity guests I've offended over the last couple of years, but it's like they like, oh, this is shit, and you're like, they get messages back through their publicists saying they didn't have an enjoyable time on the show, and I'm just like,
okay.
Who gives a fuck?
Well, I guess they'll never be on it again.
It's not like I was going to interview you twice.
There you go.
Wow, man! Building and burning the bridge in the same. It's like it's like that magic brush that Mickey Mouse has. It's just painting right over the reality. Like, yeah, there it is. And there it went. Hope you're not on the bridge because it's gonna go away. There you go. All those cars are now in the water. We'll be interviewing them next week. From the afterlife.
At the end of the show, that's it.
But I just absolutely hate when you have a celebrity on and they just give you the same cookie cutter fucking answers they give everyone on every show. That just bugs the fuck out of me. So I just start saying any old shit to them.
And then you're like, you are one. You are
fucking interact properly. I'll just interact in an incredibly weird way. Like I remember one where it was like every question I started with cunt. So it was like, so cunt, what was like making this movie? And then the whole time he was talking, I was just going.
This is the most fun I've had podcasting in a long time, a really long time. Like seriously, it's just all right, man. Anything goes.
Anything goes.
See, this is why Scott Doucette's still not released my episode of Podcast Bay.
Oh man!
Because I offended. Well, I said I talked shit about so many people in the PDC.
Oh, I was about to say, I think I know where this is going. I mean, not that I know what you said, but I can just imagine where. I was about to say, with what we've already been talking about in general, I'm like, oh, I can only imagine what I just assume, and I don't know if I learned this in college or whatever. Like, whatever, man. If you're in groups, people are probably talking about you when you're not there. So don't give them a lot of things to talk about you that aren't cool to talk about. How about just be cool all the fucking time, so that people have nothing but cool things to say about you.
Yeah.
I just presume everyone thinks I'm offensive, and then I'm fine with that, to be honest.
That's what I was put here to do, man. That's what I was put here to do.
But yeah.
And Scott's podcast is already, it's already very, very. He allows a lot of stuff on this. I'm wondering what you must have said.
Oh, really?
I think it was naming names.
Oh,
of
wow.
the biggest trolls and marshals in the group.
Yeah.
Wow.
Interesting.
Yep. Like I said, I'm like, I don't want to name my worst interviewer, but or worst interview, but I'll tell you around the first or second episode is what you want to check out. It's like kind of as close as I'll get. He's just like, fuck it, this was the bitch he interviewed. This is her name.
This is her email address.
In fact, you'll let her know you were about to listen, and that she can expect to hear from you later. I like how he keeps praying, like we are damning your soul for being part of this conversation. It's just like, geez, you're all protecting me through this, right? Like he's saying all that crazy shit. That guy in New Jersey, not me. I'm just here along for the ride.
I remember a publicist asked me to do a favour and interview this rapper guy. So I was like, that might be fun. Rappers are usually fun to interview. Yeah. Turned out he was a Christian rapper, which I did not know was a thing. And apparently his catchphrase, because this is how he starts every fucking thing he says, is to God be the glory.
Oh, fuck up.
So 35 minutes of it. And I was being nice because I don't like to offend people based on religion.
Wait, now we don't like to offend people? Hold on a second.
When it comes to religious belief or...
Alright, yeah.
I see. That's the boundary right there. Okay.
When you're throwing it in my face constantly, I thought I had muted my mic, to be honest. And I said...
I love it that starts there. I thought I muted my mic. All right.
And
what did you say?
I basically just went, fuck God. Repeatedly for like 5 times while he was talking. And he never broke sentence. He just kept going. And at the end, thank you for coming on my show. So I don't know if he just wasn't listening or he's just like the most Christian of Christians. Forgives everything.
Nah, it teaches their own anyway. But you know, I don't envy. I wouldn't last that long with that guy.
Well, I mean, I've been on a show where right as we were about to get started, one of the guests was just like, "Hey, by the way, so listen, we're taping this on our side too, so that we can release it on our channel, and we're very religious, so like, could we all keep it like PG and clean?" And I was like, what? like I was like, hold on a second, wait, there were supposed to be no rules to this podcast that I'm about to guest on, and I am like kind of blazed right now, so I don't know if I can promise anything. I think legally I can't even consent to sex right now, so I think I will. And I said, I'm like, I'll do my best, but I don't know that I could promise. And it was like a look of sheer terror just crossed the guys. Well, can you promise, dude? Like, can you do more than just say you think? Like, and I was like, oh my God. All right, yeah, I'll do my best. Thanks, man. Thanks. I'm like, yeah, whatever. And somehow he had technical difficulties and he like dropped out within 2 minutes of the show, and we were never able to get him back in. So I was just like, well, I kind of thank fucking God. To be honest with you, no offense, that's bullshit. So like, really, to drop that on people right as you're about to get started, like that should have been discussed at least a half hour before, if that was going to be a problem at all. And on it, I kind of almost feel like that's like, why are you podcasting? You know what I mean?
That should have been discussed when he was signing up to do the episode.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I'm sorry, but like, if someone has issues like that and the host wants them on the show, that's one thing, and then you go along with what the host wants.
Right.
Not the guest's place to pick what the show is. I go on shows and I'm clean on shows that you can clean on.
Yeah.
I go on shows and I'm not controversial on shows that they don't want controversy on. They're boring as fuck, but that's
true.
I've guested on quite a few shows, and quite a few people have come back and told me that after me being on their show, they had a spike in
nice
downloads because I'm controversial. I say wacky shit because I don't care.
The Carson spike you look for in the trend.
It's just one of those things. But if people don't want that, I don't give them that. I'll be clean, talk screenwriting or whatever the fuck they want to talk about.
Right.
And that's what we do. But to come on a show and dictate to the people that are on the show how you're going to be, I'd have just sat like the whole time he was talking, like,
I'm only verging into the world of being that comfortable with telling people to go fuck themselves to their faces. I'm like, let's ease into this because maybe, who knows, man, he could have the power of the Lord on his side. I don't know. I might have a heart attack in the middle of this fucking show right now.
See, that's the thing. If it was actually in person sitting around a table, I'd still have told him to go fuck himself.
Oh, well, that's different too. I kind of feel like maybe because also it wasn't my show and I was just one of the guests just being like, what the fuck? Fuck? And maybe if I was the host, I'd be like, oh, hey, you know what? Maybe this isn't the show for you to be on, actually, bro. Let's, no offense, why don't you check out and we'll do this some other time. And everybody else who's going to still be like an adult, we can stay.
You'll do like a little 20-minute episode on your channel.
Yeah, right. Yeah, man, it's like a little passive-aggressive kick on the way out the door. We're like, yeah, the rest of us grown-ups will stay here and be part of the podcasting world. You go have fun and whatever little sheltered life you're trying to do over there. Sure. But also put it on iTunes for the world to fucking not listen to or listen to, whatever. I don't know.
There we go. Next question. Are all podcast gurus pure cunts? 100% yes.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Oh, that's good.
I'd love to know why he asked that question.
That's one of my regulars. He's called Wee Malky. He's a Scotsman, same as me. He's crazy. I would never meet him in real life.
Oh wow!
This guy has an eyebrow that only exists here. Nothing here. It's here. And it's cross-eyed like fuck. But God bless him, he retweets everything I put on Twitter. Cheers.
Yes. I don't know if we count as gurus, but thank you.
There is a couple gurus out there that I do think they're proper cunts. So I'd love to know why he's asking that question. Some of all these Facebook ads that come on your Facebook and they're always excited and happy, like, you know, I don't know what they're always happy about. But yeah,
I like some of the husband and wife duos. No offense to husbands and wives out there, but like, it's me, Tom, and my wife Martha, and we're on the road in the RV. We're driving all around whatever fucking country we're in, and we're gonna stop and eat breakfast at every diner we see. Check us out on our YouTube, and don't forget our Patreon. And I'm like, this. People pay for this? Like, what the fucking fuck? It's one thing if they're just getting a shit ton of views and you want to throw some AdSense on there, but I'm like, Patreon? Like, what the fuck? Guys out there, peeps, all of you dudes, the universal non-sex term dude now. Speaking to every gender that is defined or undefined, whatever. You have to stop paying for shit. Okay? You have to start being more discerning with where your dollars and cents go. Because otherwise you get garbage like, hi, I'm Tom and Martha the second. We're not the same Tom and Martha, but we're both still named Tom and Martha. We're still married and we're still in an RV. And you're like, I want to fucking get off this planet. I want to go colonize Mars. Next bus to Mars, next transport that needs people to do wiring of houses on Mars. I will be there.
We're Tom and Martha. We've had 15 views on our YouTube channel. We've got a Patreon page.
And we've parlayed that into a way to stay anywhere in the country for 20% off. So sign up to our Groupon right now.
It's so true.
We sound like Billy Mays. Maybe we'll die. Oh, God. That was so bad. Literally the worst thing one of the worst things I've ever said live on a recording of all. Oh my god. Oh shit. Oh wow.
Oh Lord.
I think this is the pre-credits teaser for the episode.
Happy to oblige. Happy to oblige.
I do agree with some of all these marketers could be, they could be like And they're so fake. When you speak to them in real life, you just realize how fucking fake they are, man. They're just serious actors for the camera. You know,
I was at VidCon 2 weeks ago now, and not only is it the fakeness, but just like this, there's no substance to some of the things that people are wasting time watching on YouTube and on Facebook Live, and even like the fact that why the fuck are there so many different platforms for this? Like,
I don't even get it myself.
I'm not gonna name drop any of them. I don't want to give any of them any props because they all suck. I haven't seen one except for basically what we're doing right now. Google Hangouts has been the most solid of them all. But you know, why is there this ability for everybody to do video when they're not video stars? I'm not saying I'm a video star by any means. Like, I'm much more of a behind the camera person, but there's a certain way you're supposed to kind of carry yourself and prepare for all this. And it just seems like there's now an audience for like, oh, hey, I just fucking woke up and turned on my camera. I'm going to go brush my teeth in like 10 minutes. But first, I just wanted to talk about this fucking weird dream I had where all the stuff I bought was stolen. And then I went and woke up and found it was still there. So it's awesome. Great day, everybody. Rock on. Please hit me up. Check out my Instagram later for a picture of me taking a shit. You know, and it's just like, and somehow that person's making $3,000 for that post. You know what I mean? 10 million subscribers, ad rolls all over it.
Yeah,
they made $3,000 for that.
So these people that they've got $5,000 smiles and 5 cents brains.
Yeah, and I don't.
The money.
I'd like the money, but I have the brains. Does that mean I'm not allowed to have any money? Is that what the fuck? Is that the trade-off? Is that what the hell happened here somehow?
Very true. I guess you take the good and the bad because of the world is strange now, to be honest, man. It's easy, like what you've just described. But then I guess there's some people with some substance on there that, you know, that the quality does come out, I guess. Like me and my friend were talking about Kim Kardashian earlier today. You know? Yeah, would you say she's talented? Would you say she's not talented? I don't know. There's a debate there for anybody to have. But I don't know. There's a lot of people.
What genre of entertainment she's I suppose.
Pretty much.
You know, but there's a lot of people put out sex tapes out there that don't go that big.
Yeah, clearly she takes a dick like a champ.
You say like you were coming from experience there.
Maybe. Who knows? Maybe.
I swear to God, you've seen my dick. It has never been attached to my face. I'm a stunt cock. This is not fair. Go watch Orgasmo. You'll know exactly what I'm talking about. See where it says G-Star on my shirt? That should be a P, but I have to go undercover like this for my business.
but secret, what do you call it? Secret alternative lifestyle.
Batman solved crime and protected Gotham City. I wrecked vagina wherever I go. Film it, put it on the internet. We make money. Tonight on Hollow9ine. I'll take the multi-billion-dollar entree industry there. I'll be like, hey, I'll take it, man. Seriously. Other people are making the money and having sex all day long. Okay, sign me up.
Sign me up all day long, man. Seriously.
We'll do that. That's fine. If you get paid, we'll do that. That sounds good.
Why not, man? Why not? You do it for free anyway. So
yeah, I know.
Right?
For real. Maybe they're the ones who have it the most correct. Maybe they understand the world the best.
So true. Completely agree, man.
This one is from Anonymous, apparently. Hopefully not the hackers.
I say the real Anonymous or an Anonymous?
I'm thinking this is from an actual other podcaster from the PDC, and they've just put Anonymous in.
Oh, fuck.
Who's the biggest cunt in the PDC?
Oh, listen to that sabotage question there. They want you to name names, Drew.
Well, I'm probably the biggest cunt in the PDC.
That's funny. I'd say whoever asked that question anonymously, probably. A little scared it might be them, and they don't want to commit.
I think it's one of the thousands that don't actually fucking interact on it. Sit back and just do nothing.
Hey, you guys like to talk shit? Let's see what happens when we throw this can of gasoline in the fire. Who do you think's the biggest dick bag around here? I don't know. Who's got the biggest bag of dicks? Who's walking around with a bag of dicks? Everyone with a bag of dicks, raise your hand. Just put them all on the scale. Whoever's got the biggest one, congratulations. You're the biggest dick bag in the PDC. That's solved. Moving on.
I would say the most annoying thing about the PDC for me has always been that there's so many people in it and fuck all people actually interact.
True,
it's the same fucking people every single post that say something, and half of them are trying to pimp their shit. It's like someone asked a question on something last week, and somebody put a fucking link up to their podcast under it.
Oh yeah, that was kind of shitty. I remember seeing that, and some that I will say, I kind of because and it's funny. I know that I sort of self-imposed this image or this station on myself, but I do kind of feel like I'm a little bit of an outlier just because of, I think some of the things I'm trying to do with podcasting are a little bit different than pretty much what almost everybody else is trying to do with podcasting. Not to toot my own horn in that way, but it just, when I'm looking for other people, you're like, hey, have you found a way to make this thing kind of take traction? We're never talking about the same thing. The thing I'm talking about is very different, it seems. So for me, I never feel like it's even appropriate to try and pimp my thing in a conversation. All the knowledge I have of production comes from what I do in my day job, which is, I'm a video producer, but for a corporate entity. And so that just means somebody else pays for all the toys I play with, and I make stuff no one else outside the corporation or the industry that I work in would ever watch. But it allowed me to know how to do all this stuff. So for me, I have the luxury of this being kind of a more fun hobby. I would love for it to make money, and obviously that's something I'm trying to figure out how to do, but that's not my sort of main drive with what brought me to podcasting. So I feel like I already have a much different approach to talking about it even. So some of the conversations in there, I'm just kind of like, well, I don't have much to say about that except for, use a good fucking mic. You know what I mean? And so it's like, when it does start to take that turn and all of a sudden links are getting thrown around, which I know is also actually against the rules there. So it's something that I know that they're pretty good about policing, but some of it still gets a little out of hand. There's always the people who are new and, don't know the rules, but
the people that have been in there a while that don't seem to give a shit about the rules. Cody boys.
One finally gets dropped.
I may have said he could go suck a dick last week on this very show. So
it's okay. Wow. Yeah. Stepped onto an active battlefield. I did not realize the gunfire was actually going all over the place. I brought donuts, guys. I did not bring guns. I brought donuts.
Any of the people that basically shit all over other people's suggestions fucking annoying.
Oh, I see.
You suggest a mic or something, and I fucking suggest shit like the fucking Snowball Ice Blue if you're just starting out, because it's like, why spend all that money if you don't know if you're going to stick it out or not?
Seriously, yeah.
And then these people are like, that's a shit mic. You have to spend $5,000 on a mic, and it's like, well, why don't you go spend $5,000 and get yourself a fucking personality, you dick?
Yeah, I think first figure out why you're podcasting in the first place. Is always that's if the first question is gear, it's like, well, hold on, what are you doing? Let's start there, because that's going to inform everything about what you're trying to do.
Very, very true. I think the problem, because of me, I'm kind of new in the podcasting world, but I came from YouTube. And the problem with podcasting, I noticed, is there is so much old information from, the answer man, what's his name? Not to call a name, but the podcast answer man. There's some old information, and people tend to stick to this old information, like stuff about new and noteworthy and all that kind of crap. And
oh, geez, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And editing the ums and ahs and all that stuff that is completely redundant in modern. And then all the guys that that information or whatever that they do hang on to that like it's gospel, and it doesn't. I mean, if you me coming from YouTube, I understand that it's all about having an audience, and like you said, you need to answer the why. If you don't have a why, then there's no need to go spend all that money on equipment. The why I think, is the most important thing to get right first before even. But yeah, that was one of the things I noticed about podcasting, and that's why when I'm working, like if I get like not to plug, but if I get like a client and he starts coming up with certain terms and keywords, I'm like, this guy is coming from an era, so I know how to deal with him and try to, declutter that also, if that's a word. But yeah.
Well, I mean,
I'm rambling, and I'm just, this is my
that's a good label to pick right there, man. I was drinking some of that yesterday because it's 4th of July weekend over here in the States, and it's the weekend where we celebrate for no fucking reason, because apparently we don't even know what we stand for anymore. Fuck July. But the sort of thing about podcasting too is that, for me especially, like some of the things I'm trying to do, the talk show aspect of it, I've actually got to say, like, I'm really impressed with this call stability that we've had on this recording, and hopefully I'm not jinxing it right now. But the fact that it has sounded so good. One of the things that really always shines about podcasting is when there's good chemistry and a good flow of a conversation. And I think some of the best podcasts out there, which is part what I'm trying to find a way to aspire to be, because I love doing this. I love meeting people from all over the world. Like, most of my network is spread out throughout the U.S. I have people in Texas. I have people in Chicago. I have people in Florida. I have people in Virginia. I have people in Canada. None of us almost are in the same locale. I have some people in New York who are close enough to me that I can meet up with them in person. And even for that, sometimes I don't even have the laptop with me. I have a little $100 Sony digital recorder with the 2 microphone noise canceling situation inside. It's really like a dictaphone that you're supposed to take to like press conferences and shit. But I'll use that to record a conversation, just to have the interaction that you get when you're in person with somebody that you can't get no matter how good the technology gets. There's always a little bit of that lag. But I think, I honestly, not to toot our own horn, I think we've been doing a great job with it today. It's been a good way for us to keep balance and stuff. But there's something about being in person that you can't ever recreate virtually. And that, to me, I think some of the ones that really stand out are the podcasts where everybody's in the studio together.
You're actually right. That's very true. There's that chemistry, and you could feel it amongst the guests. So you're actually right. You make a good point. Like, I've got this guy, this friend of mine. He basically, you probably will know him. What's his name again? I forget. But anyway,
I'm sure he's super happy with you that you didn't plug his show right now. He's like, oh, I'm such a good fucking friend. You forgot my name, huh? That's good. Maybe I'll just forget your name when it comes time to send the check. How about that shit, consultant?
Your fucking name when it comes time for my round at the bar.
Exactly. Sorry, man, we gotta finish this.
I'm gonna have to remember his name now. He's John Bukila. So you guys probably know him, but he's got this amazing studio. He's invested so much money into soundproofing his studio. He's got like a studio in the basement or something like that. And obviously his show is done, with the host come to the studio and they record everything. And you could, like you're saying, you could feel it's such a great show, the chemistry, you could feel the energy in the room and everything. It's really cool. At some point, I would like to have something like that as well for the show, for my podcast as well. But to get people to travel, though, that is another challenge right there.
Well, that actually, it's funny. I mean, if we're talking about things that get thrown around the podcasting world, apparently, I'm not going to call it out because it was posted in the PDC. I think it's more important to call it out because it was something that was said at Podcast Movement, which is the big podcast conference that I think they have an East Coast version and a West Coast version. But somebody made some statement that, like, to do well done, high quality branded content, podcasting wise, you need to be spending $1,000 a minute or something like that. Like, that's what your budget should be for your show. Oh, and I'm like, what fucking universe are you in? Like, and honestly, it really pisses me off And I know there are probably some people that are like, Dave, shut your fucking mouth. You're trying to cash in on this too. And in some ways, sure, I would be. But if we're being charlatans to that level, where there are people convincing the stupid that, yes, this is what you have to spend and spend it with me to make sure you could buy, like, fuck you, dude. Podcasting is something so easy. Fucking 12-year-olds are basically doing it on YouTube and making a lot of money. So how do you have
Dave?
Shut up. Sorry.
That's job.
$1,000 a minute, though. I mean,
that's underplaying it. It's more like 1,500, isn't that right? But
that's egregious, bro.
I 100% agree with Dave. I do agree with you, like 100%, because of you know. Basically, what I do is, let me put it this way, yeah. There's nothing I do that you can't do for yourself. You know, how I make my money is, if you don't want to do it, or if you don't have the time to do it, that's how I make my money. You know,
sure.
I 100% agree with you. What I recommend for my clients is a mic, what do you call it, the ATR thingy. It sounds so good, actually, and a computer and Zencaster. That's all.
Yeah, Zencaster.
All the equipment I recommend for my clients. You could start podcasting for like less than 100 quid, man. You could start podcasting, and that's all the gear you need. But there's like I said, all this old information telling you to buy like a hard drive, external recorder and shit, and they list all this equipment for you. Like, I'm an audio engineer, that's my background. So you don't need all that, man. And it goes back to your why. You know, why are you podcasting in the first place? You know, if you're podcasting as a business, or if you're trying, whatever it is you're trying to podcast, there's no need. There's seriously no need to spend more than £200 to get started, man, and you could have a brilliant show. I mean, look at what we're doing. How much is this costing anybody? Like,
honestly, dude, I was just say, this is like a master's class in just like street level production right now that we're talking about. Like, all this stuff we're talking, like, we haven't even talked about, like, you know, how you really just have to be able to talk to people to be able to do interviews. That there's no magic bullet out there that someone's going to hand you. You know what I mean? Like, there's a certain level that people don't like to hear. And maybe this is the right place for us to be having this conversation, because I know if Drew, you like getting controversial, people don't like to hear things like, hey, look, you kind of suck on camera. Like, no offense, you should not be in front of the camera. And maybe that's why you should spend some money to bring somebody in to be your spokesperson for your podcast. Like, I'm not saying podcast production shouldn't cost money. I would never say something like that, because I think anything that requires a professional skill should cost money. Yeah. But I think we do the entire world of podcasting a huge disservice if we're like convincing these people at the top, hey, it costs this crazy amount of money. And then if they were to look at their fucking books, they're like, oh, so you basically spent $1,000 on equipment, and then you spent $100,000 flying your ass around the world and partying just so you could have 15-minute conversations with people in their own environments. That's fucking insane, dude. We could have used Skype. You know what I mean? Like, if there's ways to do it, and there's ways to put the premium in there so that everybody makes money, but doing it in the fake way is going to lead to a bubble burst the way every other industry has experienced before now, most recently the real estate one that fucked the whole world's economy up. Okay, I'm just saying. I'd rather podcast be a way that we could all be good business people and make money without it being the same corrupt bullshit that everything else is.
You're very right. And there's this new app that come out that I think is going to fuck up the whole thing.
Those goddamn apps.
I don't know let me see if I remember the name.
Is it Podify? Hey, do you just want to think about shit, say one word into a thing, and then your podcast will get made for you? We've got Podify. And you're like, oh, son of a bitch. This will go into your brain and extract the thoughts. You don't even have to type. You don't even have to speak. Just stay asleep, motherfuckers. Stay asleep.
We're gonna get there eventually. I actually posted this in a group, and you know, in a group of editors I belong to, and everybody's dismissing it. But you know, me, I know eventually this is gonna take away a lot of editors' jobs. You know, whether they want to admit it or not, because of the thing is very good. You literally could have a podcast with your phone, and that's all you need. You know? It's getting that way.
Horrible.
It's actually it actually kind of got me thinking I'm going to keep an eye on it because of, like I said, how I make my money is you could use that app, sure, why not? But if you don't have the time to even use that app, then that's where that's where I fit in, you know. But
yeah,
let me see.
and I think for the business world, there are definitely going to be people that like their industry, they don't even have time to figure out what podcasting is. Exactly. You know what I mean? And so for them, definitely podcast production is a service you go out and pay for. And then, yeah, and if you want your podcast to be basically a cable channel show on iTunes and you have money to put behind it, of course it's going to be fucking amazing. But I think when we see stories like that reported, especially the way I think I felt like it was when it was posted in the PDC, it's kind of like scaring away people. Like, don't even bother getting involved in this if you can't throw this much money behind it. Like, hey, look, if I had money like that to throw behind a production of any kind, I would just start a production fucking company flat out off the top, and it would do everything, not just podcasting. You know what I mean? It would be, because you know, if you're spending that much money to make a podcast, by being on these trips, you've got to have some cameras rolling. So now you have a TV show. You know what I mean? Like, you've got the audio going out as an audio podcast. I'm sure you're live streaming to your website. So now you got 3 things happening right there. So it's not like that. It's not like that budget is just for podcasting. That budget is for a approach. You know what I mean? And that's where I think mischaracterizing it, the way it was, at least in that post, it was like trying in my mind to tell all these little guys who were just getting started, like, hey, look, if you don't have money to spend, bitch, you better just back the fuck out of here. There's the door. Go sit in the kids' table.
To me, there's a fucking class system going on in podcasting where there's all these folk that like to talk about how much money they're spending on shit and blah, blah, blah. And then there's the people that are actually going out and making some decent shows.
Yeah, you're right.
Because these people that are spending all this money, it's like the most polished piece of shit ever.
Yeah. And that's just the thing. Like Drew said, earlier, the why is so important. And for me, that is the most important aspect of podcasting, because if you don't figure that out, you're pretty much wasting your time. And this is, some people start a podcast and then expect, you know, you're going to get all this download and, you know, sponsorship and all that stuff, like, just because of your podcast. They have no promotion plan. They have no strategy even to how you're going to, because I see podcasting as a tool. How are you going to use it now? That is where you're going to be clever, you know. But I look at what's going on in the PDC and the other podcasting community and the rest of them, like he's talking about charlatans. I like to, funny you call them. That's what I call them. And so they say all these amazing things, like this one is saying 5 times your, what, 5 times? What audience, man? Seriously. You know, this the competition for podcasts right now. You put out a show, nobody's gonna listen, man. Seriously. I mean, I don't even need to tell you guys how hard you work to grow your audience. There's a lot of work you need to do now to even get any decent download numbers. But, you know, most of them don't have no business sense. They just feel that, they just put it then, and automatically, you know, you start getting the downloads and then the sponsors, and probably why they're investing all this money, and then you're like, podcast doesn't work.
Well, you know, you had all this money to spend. You should have saved some of it to boost some of your posts, because I think you do get some eyeballs from doing that, you know, and you got to know the sort of social engineering tools, like the right hashtags, the right times to post, the right metadata to use, and, you know, figure out, because they're constantly changing. Well, the one thing I took away from VidCon was that the algorithms are always changing, so you just have to keep changing with them.
And the worst that pisses me off, maybe I start being like true, because there's some that piss me off the most. You're the ones that always posting their links, like, you who gives a shit about listening to you? I'm not interested in your shit.
It's okay if you do it on Promotion Wednesday. You're allowed to do it on promo day.
On promo day, yeah, sure, why not? But then it's a million podcasters posting their own links, and I guarantee you nobody's listening to anybody's link. Like, but you see some podcasters go and
wow,
fucking true,
everybody's just not holding back tonight. Jeez.
because I'm not gonna lie, we're all selfish. I mean, I know I did it initially. Like,
I've listened to a couple shows that people shared.
okay.
On,
You're cool.
I'm the exception to the rule. I'm the outlier, dude. I'm the self-imposed outlier. I'm very weird.
Here's a question though: how many of you out of the two of yous, when people go, "How about we do you rate review my show and I'll rate and review your show"? How many of yous have done bad reviews?
I actually did a bad review once a long time.
Interesting.
I feel like maybe that's haunting me karmically a little bit. But you know what? Like, to me, it's like, look, again, if you don't have the why, and then you don't have the why, and you don't have the ability, and no one ever told you, like, look, maybe being a media personality isn't for you. Maybe you should write a book. Maybe you should do something else. It's a little bit different, where you control the whole narrative from the beginning to the end. Because if you don't have chemistry with people, if you can't be on a microphone or a camera, you can't be mad at the rest of the industry. You know what I mean? Like, there's a certain level of truth you have to be ready to take. Sure. And there was a whole period of time where people just, like, there were some people that would say, oh, I would love to be a movie star, but I can't take the rejection of having to go on all those auditions and get the million no's until you get the one yes that makes your career take off. Sure. And I think it's the same thing with this. It's just that there isn't that agency going, hey, shut the fuck up and get off the internet because you suck. Sure. You know what I mean? Like, they're in Hollywood, they want to break you so that you stop showing up so that they can get the cookie. But out here, it's just like, look, there's millions of terabytes available for X dollars per month, man. People have internet plans. You're just out there. There's no one stopping you. It's us saying the bad review is the way to stop them.
Yeah, I got one, and his review for my show was literally 4 stars, and then he just wrote, "Terra Firma is really fun." So you can't even fucking listen to it. So my review for actually listened to his, and his was, just sucked balls, to be honest. So I gave it a 1 star. And I said, this is the biggest piece of shit I've ever fucking listened to in my entire life. Wow. If you want to hear an actual podcast, check out Terra Firma.
Wow, dude, you did the full 9. You not only gave him the bad review, you plugged yourself at the same time.
It's absolutely right. Because, I get the whole let's help each other out, community shit and all that. But come on, man. This is because of me, all about business and making money.
Yeah.
You guys help me out. Maybe I'm wrong. Help me out.
No. I'm already with you on what you're about to say. I got you.
Okay, so say I have a show for maybe have a show about porn. Yeah, is there any value for me to bring like the most religious person listen to, as in tell him, yo, listen to my show, and he just give him the link, or let me put it this way. Say I'm a Muslim, and I give you guys, I have a show about Islam or whatever, and you're a Christian, and I give you my show to listen to. Is there any value in you listening to that show? As in, you're probably gonna listen to it if you ever do, and never listen to it again.
Yeah,
I don't know if you get me. Basically, what I'm trying to say is, who's listening to your show? If you get what I mean,
right?
There's no point in this broadcasting thing. I prefer. I prefer 100 people that are actually interested in, your show versus 1,000 people that, will just subscribe for no reason and will never, because of, look at what Drew is doing now. You're actually getting questions. How many podcasters can actually do that?
Right. I hear you.
It's a very tiny percentage. And the bad thing about podcasting, unlike YouTube, you could actually get comments under the video and stuff like that. Podcasting, you don't get that feedback. So, for Drew to actually get people sending you, I don't know how you pull that off, but but for you to actually do that is a feat, right? That it shows that you actually have an audience that is interested in your shit,
Yeah.
Which you can then monetize later on, but let me not tell them. but yeah, that's another. But in podcasting, for some reason, I think it's because they want the numbers and they want the sponsorship thing, so they really don't care. They just want to boost the numbers. So basically, they just throw the. But for me, that's just narrow. You could sell shit. I don't know if you get me. Besides just sponsorship, you know, for you to get sponsors, you need the numbers, don't you? Like,
right. Yeah. Sponsors look for the numbers, but you also the platform will look at the numbers, and then like YouTube is like where you'll get like the AdSense, but they'll just add commercials to the front and back. But even there, and then YouTube will do this. Like, yeah, you're right. Like it shouldn't for as much as everybody wants to support each other, you're right. There has to be, it has to make sense. Like, it has to make sense for me to share your show on my feed, because like you said, like, let's say I'm one religion and you're another religion. Why would I share that on my feed, especially if they're religions that are against each other? Let's just not even say religions that just don't believe the same thing. Religions that have a history of going to war. Why would I do that? You know what I mean? Like, that's not going to get either of us anywhere.
Anybody, it's true.
You can't be all pissed that you made that call either. You know, like the other people can't be like, why didn't you put my white power podcast on your thing? Like, fucker, I'm not trying to be associated with that shit. And you know what? It's like
a person putting a fucking cricket podcast on. You know, that's not going to happen.
It's true. It's so true. It's so true. I don't know why. I guess they just want to rack the numbers, but for me, it doesn't make sense because of. Like I said, I'd rather have 100 people that are super interested in your shit that would actually spend 100 quid with you versus trying to go with sponsors that, you know, and then the sponsorship thing is going to change now. Apple is actually getting into the statistic game. I don't know if you guys heard about the whole thing, you know, they're actually going to start showing who's actually listening and stuff like that, you know.
Yeah, that's gonna be like a rating system.
Exactly. And this is the whole thing for the old information. And this so-called old information is being pushed by all these gurus that your friend asked called them. They're being pushed by these guys. I'm like, really? I just don't have it in me to be a charlatan. If not, I will.
That's the whole thing, right? You're just like, I just don't want to do it. I want to live true. I don't want to have to change my story so that everybody else feels okay about it. You know, it's just bullshit.
It's so true.
If it's gonna work, it's gonna work because the work stands for itself. In my mind, true. You know, like the thing I'm trying to do, the sort of way that I've always approached this, it's like, if I'm gonna get that level of popularity, if people are gonna listen, it's because what I made is good enough that people who've listened to it said, "Oh, you got to check this out," or anybody who stumbles upon it is like, "Whoa, this shit was great." And so to me, that's why it's always about the quality of the product. I guess that's why I have such a hard time with there being such a flooded market of people that have no substance and no purpose and expect, like you said, they expect, oh, just because I put it out there, I should get like thousands of downloads and make money, right? It's like, well, no, dude. It's like no one wants to hear just crankyoldman.com who's not even good at being a cranky old man. You know what I mean? Like, you gotta have some personality behind that crankiness too, you know? You gotta be some savvy there. So
like there's more podcasts about making a podcast than there is about
anything else. What the fucking fuck? We all can't be experts. We all can't be perfect. Otherwise, we'd all be goddamn rich, guys. Like, come on. Think about that right there. Staring you in the face. In the face. There's like a whole page. Oh, there's 1,000 podcasts about doing podcasts. Really? How many of them are driving Ferraris? That's where we're going to start looking at who we should listen to.
I always love it. It's like, the majority of them have like fuck all followers or audience at all, and it's like,
it's true.
What do you have to offer?
It's so true.
It's so true. Doing worse than mine, so why would I take any of your advice?
It's so true. It's so true, and
that's Joe, go ahead.
No, sorry, carry on, bro.
No, I didn't really have a point. I was.
Okay. No, it's so true because I was gonna say basically that the whole guruism or whatever. That's basically. Because of the way human beings work, I don't want to go into all this deep sheep mentality and stuff. Because of really and truly, you put yourself out there, you're gonna attract what you're gonna attract. You're gonna attract the following, regardless. We're just that way, you know. There's leaders, there's followers, and this is what these charlatans or whatever exploit, you know. And before you know, you start asking them to pay $5,000 shit like that for. I'm surprised some people pay this shit, man. I'm like,
I often wind up landing on the fact that I'm like, rich people are dumb, yo.
I don't even know.
How the fuck did you get to be rich if you're this dumb? I just don't understand. A Google search will tell you how dumb you're being right now, but fuck it, you're rich. Everyone's gonna lick your asshole. Everyone expects that at one point you're gonna be walking around too wasted to know what's what, and just reach into your coat and be like, yeah, I have this like $20,000 in cash here. Why don't you take that? You have a good night. You know, it's like that's not gonna happen. It not even in movies happens, guys. Like we gotta get over this idol worship of people who have a lot of money and just like start figuring out how to make your own way to that. Because look, they are keeping that money by shopping at Walmart. You know what I mean? Like they buy the 1 or 2 cool things they need for the 1 or 2 cool events they go to a year. They're just like the rest of us. They pinch their pennies, you know? So like if they're willing to abdicate knowing how to do a thing like podcasting, let's just say, and they're willing to just throw money at it, like, okay, yes, that's obviously something you can exploit. You can probably make a very good living at it. But you know, there's other things that they'd be willing to throw that money at too. Like in my mind, I want to entertain people, and you know, like there's a human condition against being bored. You know, a lot of our whole economy is built around like making sure I don't have to sit around and just keep realizing I'm gonna die one day. Please, something distract me. You know, like
it's so true.
So to me, like you know, I look at that and say, well, how could I use like what I do to find my way into that space?
It's true. And that is the opportunity right there, I think, for podcasting. There's no major player yet that has, you know, come and, you know, dominate the whole thing. Like it's getting there. Very soon we're gonna have these gatekeepers and shit in the podcasting industry. Unfortunately, it's gonna happen once the money. I'm listening to advertisers are starting to get the money starting to get into billions now. So it's gonna get there. That's when it's gonna ruin everything for everybody, to be honest. You know, now there's a lot of indie players doing their thing, so diverse, but you know, money will change everything. Unfortunately, it's already happening in the production side. I don't know if you guys know if what's it called? I can't remember anything this evening.
That's what happens when you come in the Haver, apparently. You forget the outside world and everything just boils up to the surface that's been bothering you. Like, oh, hey, you know what? Fuck all of you guys. Now that I realize I'm on a rant, fuck all of you.
but there's this new company that come up now. I remember it tomorrow. I'll send you. But anyway, they start charging. You know, they're going after big brands like charging 100 grand, 600 grand, stuff like that to produce podcasts for these guys. You know, and then people like us that charge or whatever we're charging. But look at that. How do you do it? How do you do it?
Well, and like how did the brand agree to that? Like podcasting is not brand new. How does the brand not know better? You know,
that's what Comedia.
Oh shit! Wow!
That's just
wow!
Chris knows we're friends. That's a joke.
That's Jesus. But
lines of fire, and I'm just like right in the middle. I'm gonna dive into that foxhole and smoke a cigarette while you guys finish duking that out. Holy shit!
Would you sell out and interview someone just for the ratings?
Would we sell out? What?
Would you sell out and interview someone just for the ratings?
Fuck yeah, of course. Oh, I'm sorry. See, that's one of those people that defines success by selling out. You say, oh yeah, you want to do something that will make your career jump? Well, you're a sellout. Why? I'm sorry, so that I can pay for food for my fucking self and my family. Suck a dick, you sell out fucking fast food. I'm sorry, hunger makes people do crazy shit.
True. Very, very true.
Prick. I haven't even done it yet and I'm being shamed for it. That's some bullshit.
I would interview Donald Trump just for the ratings.
Yeah, me too, dude. I would
do like an hour just talking about his hands.
Asking for some money as well, man.
He might just pull the $20,000 in cash out of his deck and just
go over it.
But here, I took this from some cancer kids. I came this way.
The only problem is trying to get him on. Like, 20 minutes of him just talking about how much he wants to bang his daughter.
No, wait, just tell him you'd be allowed to Twitter rant and you just want to sit there in the room while he does it and have like a live feed going. He'd be like, "This is huge. This is gonna be huge, fantastic, absolutely fantastic. We have all kinds of beautiful chocolate cake brought in. This beautiful we can eat while we're Twitter ranting. This will be huge in a bigly way."
The ES media, man, seriously, they're making so much money off Trump, man. It's like, I don't know if it's intentional. They have so much material.
I'll tell you right now, one of the shows that's going to be debuting on the new Hollow9ine is called 45 Reasons Why. You can figure that out on your own out there, Internet. I can put those two things together. It's called a mashup.
It's just the same as on the Drew Carson show when it comes back on YouTube. We're going to have a segment on it called Top Trumps, where you basically, the guests come on and you both tell us 3 things about yourself, one of them being bullshit or fake news, as Trump calls it.
Nice.
So see, there you go. It's not all bad.
There you go, right there. 2 shows that haven't even come out yet that are already being designed because of the opportunity that's there at the time.
I might have to come up with my one as well for Trump.
You might as well, dude. You might as well. It's going to be a ratings gold.
He's trending, isn't
4 years of it.
Yeah, at the very least.
It could be 8, you know. I think he's going to.
Don't, please, can we not say that shit out loud? I'm knocking on wood right now. I'm hoping it's not even the full 4, but we all know that that'll never fucking happen.
Jesus.
Yes, exactly. That's what we said starting the next day. Like, oh, sweet Jesus.
Do not know if we technically answered this earlier. Will you ever make the jump to bring your current shows or new shows to being video-only podcasts / TV shows, maybe featured on a YouTube channel or internet TV channel? Again, fucking structure a sentence. I've got to read this shit out.
We're the cunts here. I just wanted to start out by saying that. We're the ones with cunt shows, apparently. Yeah, why the fuck not? Of course. Yeah. You know, if I ever got to the point where I didn't have to have a day job and I could just do this all the time, of course, absolutely. I'm a video producer. I would much rather be making video content, but I like audio. I mean, I loved radio. I love old radio shows, and I love the idea that we have basically new radio that we could all do without having to get licensed by the FCC. So it's like, fuck it, man. I do whatever, but I kind of like the idea that there's a way you could play with the audience's mind and let them bring their own interpretation of what's going on to the table, and kind of the way everybody was afraid of Jaws before we saw the shark. You know, everybody had their own imagination of what Jaws was going to look like before they saw it. I feel like I like playing with that. So for me, I'm always trying to find ways to use podcasting to do stuff like that.
I agree. And, you know, you could always convert it into an audio podcast afterwards, you know, so yeah I agree. Which is awesome. Another awesome thing about podcasting, you could do stuff like that. You know, you could have your video and then you could send this one to iTunes after. I don't know, Drew, if you do that for this one.
Not for this one yet. I'm looking into, once the series is done, I'm doing 12 episodes of it, and then I'm going to shove it out there now.
So we're at the halfway mark on number 6 here. You get halfway in, you get this bomb just goes off of like total insanity in the middle. But we're just like, yeah, fuck it. We're dropping names. We're talking shit about groups.
For me, I'm looking to do my roundtable episodes on the podcast this way because Skype isn't fucking reliable. And this
Skype is shit, man.
So I'll give video content for my YouTube channel as well as the audio content for the podcast, and I'm thinking about doing my celebrity interviews this way as well. That's the only danger there is they can actually see me sitting going.
well, obviously those are the ones you don't do that. You get the celebrity treatment. You get the celebrity treatment. What are you using to record? Are you using a plugin, or is it is just the Google Hangout itself is recording it?
Google Hangout itself, and then I've got a couple of software things I can put it through that clean it up.
Okay.
Nice.
How is the audio though compared to when you do Skype?
It's not as clean sounding.
Okay.
My problem with Skype sometimes is it's a little too clean sounding. I mean, it sounds fake.
Yeah.
Plus, I'm always a shitload quieter than my guests. What the fuck is that about? But with this, the only problem with this is it doesn't save it to individual channels, so you can't break it up to clean it that way.
You get a mixed file at the end.
Gotcha. Interesting.
I think doesn't Zencaster
Zencaster does that. Yeah, it does that. But then it's audio only. I wonder if you've got like a video only solution that separates the channel. Any app developer they're listening, man. There's your opportunity.
I know, right? This is what we do. We just talk about shit, and someone out there's like, "Oh, they need this."
Pocket Run Be Live will be going. Yeah, we do that, but you fucking don't, because you can't even do video on fucking Be Live.
I'll tell you what, I've only been on them and Smile Time once each, and Smile Time was pretty fucking bad. I was like, wow, I asked the host who had us on, I'm like, do you use this a lot or what? And they were like, yeah. And I'm like, really? Because I would never use it again after this. Like, one and done for me, man. You fail this bad, it's like, what are you fucking doing?
Yeah, Smile Time. For me, I recorded a Christmas special last year. It worked great, but everything I've done since, the pictures like that, and the sound comes and goes, and that's when it actually posts to Facebook. Yeah. And if it doesn't post to Facebook, you ain't got the video.
Yeah. Oh wow. So that's it. Yeah. So that's simple. That's why it's free, I guess, because they're at least keeping your content.
But at least they're free. Be Live are now charging.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've been
shitty type of system.
I've been surprised at how much things have been free so far. You know what I mean? Like, to me, a lot of this should have been costing. I'm surprised they haven't made Facebook cost money just in general, and like, even though they keep posting that fake meme that goes around and says, oh, in a month Facebook's gonna start charging, and I'm just like, all right, fine, everyone will stop using Facebook that day. But I am surprised they haven't figured out a way to be like, you know what, we're just throwing a generalized social media tax onto everybody's power bill from now on, or building into all the internet service providers. They're building in a social media tax that goes straight to the government, something, because it feels like, if there's as much corruption as we clearly know there is in the world, how are they allowing us to have these channels to be able to talk to each other and expose it to each other and be like, hey, did you notice this bullshit happening right here? I'm fucking right there, dude. I'm at the place streaming it to you right now. That is murder happening right now. Right fucking now. And we're all going, well, I don't know. And it's like, no, fuck it, it's happening. This is real. So, like, why would the powers that be that are totally shitting all over everything still allow us to have this infrastructure to be able to share it with each other? It doesn't make a lot of sense.
It's a great question. It's a really good question, actually. I think, because of how Facebook's their business model is basically selling ads, so they take all of our data, and I guess that's it. But it's a really good point you make, and I don't know about US, but here in the UK, they're trying to do some shit about it. I don't know if Drew, you heard, they're trying to get these guys to, be more locked down and, spy and all that stuff.
Yeah.
In the name of terrorism and stuff like that.
Yeah, fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of weird random stuff the government wants to do when it comes to the internet. They want to ban porn. They want to ban...
They don't want you to watch porn anymore, man. Seriously, it's crazy.
It's like, if they ban horror films, I'm fucked, because that's my podcast.
Well, it's just like, why would you ban anything? I mean, like, there's already a market for everything. You know what I mean? Like, there are people who are already paying for it. Why would you ban it? Just charge them for it. You know what I mean? Exactly. It's like it's the same thing with, like, marijuana, with everything. It's just like, dude.
I 100% agree.
There's a fucking criminal enterprise already making money off this. People will spend the money, so just fucking tax it and bring that money into the government, and then you guys can stop being bitches about all this other shit. You know what I mean? Like, then we'll have plenty of money to pay for everything.
I 100% agree. 100%. Sometimes the governments, whatever, especially the case of weed and marijuana, they just like to outdo ban shit. I'm looking at this fucking Jeff Sessions or whatever it's called. I look at him, and no offense to old people, man, but sometimes I think they should ban old people at some stage from being in politics. Seriously.
Absolutely.
Like, you when you get to past 40 or whatever, fuck off and go and retire and enjoy the rest of your life. And let young people because they make decisions that affect young people. Like, look at fucking Brexit. I don't know where you guys stand on that, but look at the way a lot of young people were pissed off with that.
Yeah.
I mean, look at fucking Jeff Sessions. Fucking, how old is he? 70, making marijuana, gonna lock up people because of their fucking planting some weed or grass.
Yeah.
He's never smoked it once in his life. I mean, I'm not a smoker, but I know that weed. I mean, I know definitely it. You know, there's not. It's just a plant, ordinary plant or whatever. It grows naturally. You could grow that in your backyard.
Yeah.
You know, got all these medicinal things they say about it, but they'll rather ban it and rather send you to prison. And the worst thing is, countries all over the world follow the same fucking goddamn policies.
Yeah.
For what reason? Without any research, which is why I'm gonna move to Portugal the moment or Spain, because of it's legal there. You know, so the moment I go, I just, you know, anyway, I don't want to go into, because of that's a podcast I should start though. So,
Yeah, it's a whole separate 2 hours about that, man.
I think that's the fucking Joe Rogan podcast, isn't it?
Pretty much, and it is like that's why it's 3 fucking hours long, because they just ramble and on and on and on. I used to listen to it a lot, but I'm just like, fuck, dude, I don't have 3.5 hours to spend
to listen to his. Yeah, it's so true.
Didn't you have this guy on like 2 weeks ago where you talked to him for 5 hours? What the fuck you talking to him again for?
Yeah, seriously, I'm like, how many episodes is this fucking guy on? Dom Herrera or whatever the fuck. You know, like when you just, like, if you have all the episodes in your iTunes and you just go look at it like, Jesus, this guy again? This again? Fuck you, dude. Just say he's part of your podcast now. You know, like he's just part of the crew. He's in.
So true. That's so good.
See, we've got some questions. That one's even too offensive for this show.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. I just like to point out one thing. See, when you have like a racial slur as your name, I'm not going to read your fucking question out on air.
Oh, shit. Wow.
So, fuck off.
Wow.
Jesus Christ.
Guys are really riding it loose out there.
Yeah.
Fast and loose you're playing, all of y'all.
Would you rather die a hero or live long enough to become a villain? What the fuck is with all the comic book references that are going up there?
Oh, jeez.
Oh, here's one. This one's aimed at me for some reason. Would you ever do a celebrity version of this show, maybe featuring the likes of Charlie Sheen and Frankie Boyle? Why not?
Why them in particular?
Is it just because they're controversial, I guess?
Yeah. Winning, and he has HIV, so we can talk about both of those things.
What's the biggest badass you know, and who's the biggest pussy? And is this like supposed to be people that you'll know?
Is it real life or movie stars? What are we talking about here?
Pussy, Steven Seagal.
Ever since you called him a pussy on our Skyfall episode, I'm like, oh yeah, Matt Damon's a big pussy. Mark Wahlberg. You know what it is? I think there are a lot of these tough guys that you then hear stories about them interacting with fans, and you're like, oh, you're just a big pussy. Okay, got it. You know, like if you're so tough, why do you have to treat people like that? Like I heard a really bad story about LL Cool J recently on the We Hate Movies podcast, and I'm like, really, dude? Because you're like jacked, like you're a big fucking guy, and you're treating your fans like shit like that. Like, what's wrong with you? What's wrong with your egos, you motherfuckers? What's wrong with you?
That's the thing, human being, ego is our biggest downfall right there. But yeah, I totally I agree with you, bro. You know, some of these guys are they're just fake, aren't they?
Yeah, just monsters, dude. Yeah. Full on monsters. Fucking idiots. And then they think people aren't going to find out, too. That's the other thing. Yeah. Like, oh, yeah, like, you think someone's not going to tell this story in an interview someday? Like, oh, yeah, I was hanging out with LL Cool J, and he was the biggest piece of shit I've ever hung out with in my life. Great.
Very raging. Very raging.
Here's one. What the fuck is a podcast producer?
What? What the fuck is a podcast? I love it. Oh, that's funny. It's what you're listening to right now, bitch asses. It's what you're listening to.
Actually, that is a good question. How do you define a podcast? I had this trouble initially.
I always say it's an on-demand radio show that we pre-record and post to our websites that people could listen to at their leisure.
See, I find I don't like putting radio and podcast together because I think they're different mediums.
Sure.
For me, radio is basically like some guy going talking a bunch of shit and then going, and now the weather, or they're the fucking news bulletin, and then some shitty music that's in the charts that they've got to pretend they actually like the newest Justin Bieber song or some shit. And they're like 70-year-old guys with wacky voices. And podcasts is people just being, well, when they're at their best, just people being real, talking about something they're passionate about. So for me, podcasts are basically where blogs and vlogs have evolved into being podcasts. It's basically just somewhere you hang out and talk about something you're passionate about. Or if you're like me, you just talk shit and offend people, which I'm also passionate about.
Whatever works, man. Whatever works.
Right, sure. Interesting.
I guess I'm still like feeling too much of that bridge generation between radio and when podcasting was new. So I always use it as like, there's the familiarity of what radio is. And then here's the sort of newness of on demand, and you carry it the fuck with you. And if you have good Wi-Fi or cellular service, you can keep downloading it while you're out. But it depends on how old you are, how far you go with that explanation. Right.
It's funny because of the podcasting industry, there needs to be some kind of a standardization thing going on there, because it's great that it's so indie, but there needs to be some kind of a, you know, at this stage it's kind of like a wild west, everybody's a young thing kind of thing. But you know, even
some standards.
Yeah, exactly. Even to the definition of a podcast, there's a lot of disagreements with what it is in the first place, you know. Unlike, you know, YouTube is YouTube. Everybody knows what YouTube is. Blogging, everybody knows what a blog, even vlogging that. But when it comes to podcasting, you know, there's, because of like what we're doing now is a type of podcast. You know, the ones that I normally do are mostly interviews and business. You know, who knows? We could swear, I guess. Yeah, but I feel whoever is the major player or whatever, do we have what do you call it, an organization, a podcasting association of, do we have something like that in
probably not. I don't think we have a union.
Yeah, exactly.
Not yet, though, and I kind of don't even like suggesting that idea out there, because then you're gonna have this vast, you have a vast gulf of experience in there too, though. You're going to have people that are going to be proponents of the sort of non-substance, non-polished, non-quality content, and then you have people like us going, fuck you, you gotta care about quality. You have to care about content. It should be just fucking jerking around out here. Like, there should be a reason. I mean, that's the other thing. You know, I think you know, one of the shows we're going to cover is 13 Reasons Why. It's on Netflix. And so I was just kind of checking what's already out there and seeing what sort of the general vibe is. And I wound up on this one girl's YouTube channel, and it was almost like the way some of these people approach being part of social media is, it's like, hey, everybody, so, like, I just wanted to get up and, like, I don't know, I didn't know what I wanted to talk about, but I just wanted to get on the camera and talk about something. And it's like, what? You know what I mean? Like, so why, first of all, did you leave that in? Because I know you edited this, because it jump cuts all over the fucking place. Apparently the audience today is fine with there not being real continuity. Like, you guys understand. Every time the picture jumps like that, a big chunk was cut out. If you had to listen to this unedited, you'd probably shoot yourself in the fucking head. All right. The 13th reason why is this video. Like, all right, I'm out. But it's just, I found it so odd the way she's like, yeah, you know, I just woke up and I'm trying to start my day and I just really wanted to get on the camera and talk. But you want to get on the camera and talk even if you don't have anything to say, though? You know, like, that doesn't make any fucking sense to me. I don't get it. And that's kind of what we have to contend with. Like, the people on this call, probably some of the people who are our audience for this, a lot of our colleagues in the PDC, we're all trying to find our way to find our place and voice in that cloud, really. And we're kind of immediately on, you know, put on the same sort of playing field as the people that are doing this like it's a compulsion as a teenager. You know what I mean? Like, and it's weird because I think for the different generations you're talking to, there's going to be different definitions of what this is and what they're even looking for in this, you know? And so it's almost like, just like with the monitoring the algorithms with the different platforms, it's almost like you really have to kind of monitor what you're trying to do and who you're trying to appeal to, and then what they're going to then go and use or do with what you put out, you know? Like, are you there just to kind of cover people's commutes and tell them which TV shows they should be watching? You know, are you just trying to share what you like? Because, you know, like if you were on the bus to work, you wish you had someone to talk to about your favorite TV show, you know? Or you're trying to teach people how to be better podcasters. You're trying to just teach people how to be better people. You know, I almost find it funny that there's so many people out there trying to say, I can teach you how to be better at life.
Fucking true crime podcast.
It's so true. It's so
the fuck is going on with them on they go?
Yeah.
One of the things I always wonder with a lot of people is, do they go the scripted route where everything they say on their podcast is scripted from their intro to the fucking interview where they've sent the questions to the person so the person knows what they're going to fucking say and that? Or how many people just improvise the shit out their show?
I'm a full improv guy. I mean, even the interviews, it's funny. The one that I was referencing earlier as probably the worst interview ever was the first one that they really pressed me to get them questions ahead of time. And I did. And they even sent me back. Like, we had a little bit of a scheduling snafu and we had to reschedule. And I think there was a moment where they thought maybe I was being less than faithful and trying to make sure that this happened. So they sent me back like their answers. And I was like, holy fuck, you wrote like all this shit out. When you listen to that episode, you're like, what the fuck happened? Like, yeah, he asked the question. They stopped speaking. And like I thought this was the person who wrote these huge paragraph answers. What the fuck happened? I think sometimes having a script becomes debilitating, depending on who you are. Some people need it. And I'm not going to talk smack like my answer just defined how you do this. No, everybody needs to do a little bit differently. And depending on what you're trying to do, like there are some elements of some of the shows we're developing that have to be scripted. And then they also have these like sort of donut holes for things that are unscripted, and it's designed to be able to play off of both. But I think like if you're doing a general, for us, we don't like to do, like when we're recapping shows, we don't like to do, okay, at minute 1 this happened, at minute 5 this happened. We don't follow like this outline. If we have to talk about all these things, we just start talking about the episode, and whatever we hit on, we hit on. We try to keep it to 40, 45 minutes and then bounce out, you know, and that way, all right, we missed something. That gives you a reason to email us and join the conversation. So I feel like for us, at least a lot of the podcasters I've ever worked with too, like just kind of, I've never been one to take notes or kind of do a lot of homework to prepare. Like if I love a show, I kind of just show up and talk about it.
Okay.
And I also, that leaves me long-winded on answers and totally leaving people going, all right, can I talk now, Dave? Or is this an answer for both of us? Or what's going on here?
I completely agree. I like to take I think the answer is somewhere in the middle for me personally, my own personal, because of me, like I said, hosting is not my strongest point, but depending on the guest, I could definitely just kind of be, you know, if I'm vibing with the guest, I could just, you know. But in terms of like the format of my show, the intro is kind of, I wouldn't say scripted, but very well rehearsed, you know, and then the interview itself is all free for all, you know, then maybe the outro is a bit rehearsed as well. So, but yeah, I could see I'm not keen on having 100% all scripted because of it doesn't sound natural, does it? It's like, yeah, it's all
right,
structured, but yeah, I do see the value in a bit of scripting in there though. You know, some people just can't.
Yeah, it's good to have an outline sometimes for people.
Yeah, exactly.
But like, you know, I always tell people, I'm like, you know, this is you have some place if you get lost in thought. You have this to hold on to as like a blueprint or a map. But you know, I think what's gonna make your show unique or make you stand out is what you bring to the table in that not being scripted and the sort of like, you know, again, this is where the sort of personality side of this comes through.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why not everyone who can just do a podcast because the technology is available should be podcasting. Not everybody who can make movies because they have a camera and a YouTube channel should be making movies. Then there are some people who don't have access to those things that absolutely should because they're fucking brilliant, you know, and there's everything in between. I think one of the things, in addition to figuring all these things out, is learning your threshold for how much of that honesty you can handle. Like if you, you know what I mean? Like, can you handle knowing that you're only good enough to go this far unless you get better skills or you work harder, and that maybe there are things that this is as far as you're going to go, you know, like, and I think it's like that with all things in life. So, you know, this is no different.
Yeah. For me, the intro and the exit of the show is pretty much could be take 3, but it's improv. And the interview, I'll research the person, but I prefer to find new weird players to go and to talk to. So as we're talking,
to give them some of these.
If something comes up on the show, like they mention something that they like, maybe we're just meaning to mention in passing, I might press them on. Like I've had interviews with. I interviewed a comedian who was in that American Horror Story. And we ended up talking about American politics, which is something she would never get to talk about on any other show.
Right.
I've talked to people that are supposed icons of horror, and we've talked about the guy's dancing background. So it's like, I'll talk about the shit they never get to talk about, and these people tend to then befriend me on social media and are always retweeting all my shit. So that's one of the things that helps my podcast. So
yeah, absolutely.
I was right. It's the weird ass shit that you discover on the show that you'd never discover, because if you script question and answers, you're just waiting for that person to shut the fuck up so you can ask the next question. You don't care what they say.
And I think that's kind of like the point for me, you know, like I look at some of the interviews I do as just collecting cool stories from people, you know, like when I approach somebody on Facebook or something and say, hey, I want to interview you for my my Spotlight series, and they say, well, what's the point of the series? I'm like, just to talk to cool people, just to talk to people who are doing interesting things, and like let other people in on, shine a little bit of a light on that, because there could be other people that have these interesting things that they're doing that they think they're all alone or that no one else would find cool. And sometimes the interview doesn't even really surround what we thought it was going to surround. Like we just kind of get on the line and start talking, and I hit record, and for the next thing you know, we could be talking for 45 minutes about our favorite soda, or like amusement parks we went to when we were growing up, or movies we both liked, and have nothing to do with like, oh, okay, so you're writing a novel, you know, like let's get the plug in at the end. But you know, I almost feel like I've always thought the coolest thing in the world would be to just hang out with like one of your celebrity icons for like a weekend, and not be trying to like hit them up to give you your dream job in the industry, or like tell you the secret ending of that movie that they never got to make. Just to like hang out with them and just be chill and real people, and like go to a concert together, or go see a movie, or hang out at a Comic-Con and like talk about things you both have shared interest in, but not be overly fanboying, and not be like making it this really artificial, hyped up thing. Just be two normal people who you just happen to know things about each other. Like, oh, I just happen to know that you're fucking amazing at acting, or that you wrote this incredible book that changed my life when I read it. I'm not going to sit every conversation start about, on page 55 of that book, man, I just really have always been wanting to ask you about this. When you said the twice in a row, was that to really emphasize the whole thing? And you're just like, well, you know what? I no longer want to hang out with you. Like, this was cool until you started asking shit like that. You know what I mean? Like, just keep it on the normal people level. And to me, that's what I get to do a little bit of every time I'm interviewing somebody. So if it isn't this structured, like, let's make sure we're hitting all the message points to promote this thing, and let's make sure we get this website out, that can all definitely be in the show notes, and we'll make sure that I could add something later. I could always add something to a canned open or a canned closing that has all that business in there. For me, like the real value, what you're bringing as the exclusive content, is the conversation that you're having, because it's you having that conversation with them that no one else would have, because you're having that conversation, you know?
I agree. Completely agree. Yeah.
If you had one bullet, who would you take out? Putin, Trump, or the guy that green lights the Transformers movies?
Oh, sweet Jesus. Let me see.
I'm gonna pull a move I used in Hitman 2 on the original Xbox, and I'm gonna wait till they're standing next to each other, and I'm gonna pop both of the world leaders, and I'm gonna let the Transformers movies continue. One shot, 2 kills, like that movie Sniper.
Who did I take out? Let me see. I don't even think I'll take out Trump because I like Trump. He's very entertaining. I don't agree with his policies, but he's just so entertaining. Man. I mean, he's made the news fun to watch.
Only for people who don't live in the U.S., I guess.
Exactly. Exactly. I agree with the Transformers one though. Michael Bay, he needs to cool down with that shit, man. Seriously. But
he's gonna be an Arthurian knight in the next one, right? Like he's like at the Knights of the Round Table.
That and the Fast and the Furious. They need to cool down with that shit.
Yeah. Their fate should have been sealed after that last one.
Long time ago, man.
Sealed fate like of the Furious.
Yeah. Capitalism. I don't know.
I don't think I'd shoot any of them. I'd maybe shoot. I'd maybe shoot. I don't know, Trump in the leg, so he can fucking golf.
Oh,
just piss him off a little bit.
Fate worse than death, right there. Fate worse than death.
He's like Trump to me as president is what like Sacha Baron Cohen playing him in like what a president would be like in a movie.
Yeah,
to me it's like funny as fuck. Except he's going to destroy the planet, but other than that,
exactly.
Except that it's real. Except that it's really happening.
Except that it's real. Truly.
Putin just looks like some guy that would like star in DILF gay porn. So I can't. Even though he's the most evil guy on the planet, I can't take him seriously just because of the way he looks.
He looks like an alien to me. I feel like he's like, this guy's clearly not from Earth. Like that's what he looks like to me. I'm like, yo, guys, this is a reptilian right here. Whatever.
And to name drop, I've got a friend in common with Michael Bay, so I probably shouldn't say.
You're like 2 degrees away from the Bay, man.
I might need some work, so
2 degrees away from the Bay. 2 degrees away from Bay.
And let's be honest, anyone can write one of his scripts.
They start filming before the script is done.
Yeah. So it's just one page that says lens flare.
Yeah.
That's it.
J.J. Abrams stole it from him.
And blow up shit. That's just
that's funny. The Matrix of Leadership. Fucking turd.
Do you think a quiz show style show could work as a podcast? This is from a guy who has called himself I Fuck Me.
Not with him hosting it, I don't think.
I don't know what kind of followers, what kind of people are following you, dude.
It's worrying, isn't it?
I really don't know what kind of people are following you.
Fuck me. I don't fuck you, I fuck me. You fucking loser. Yes, I lose. I fuck me. Wasn't that one of the 2 twins in the second Austin Powers movie when Austin Powers gets a call and is like, this is fuck you and fuck me. Twins. Twins.
Quiz show, yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Podcast. Anything can work as a podcast. You could do a podcast on.
I'm sure you can do
a podcast on anything like how much you hate your mother, and then have her on as a guest in episode 10.
There you go.
As a podcast.
It's the Psycho podcast right there. Coming soon from Drew Carson Productions.
There's no FCC or NCC to regulate you, man. So you could really
not yet. God damn it! Don't give them ideas.
Very true.
that word's offensive, so I'll switch it. But how far could you kick a dwarf?
Wow.
That's not even funny. That's
just mean, man. That's just mean. I don't know.
And it depends on the dwarf, because like if you're talking about the guy that plays Mini-Me, I could probably kick a field goal with him.
Vern Troyer.
Yeah. This is quite small.
Wow. Name dropped. I don't know. I don't know. I have a feeling that this is probably harder to do than you think.
Yeah. It's the low center of gravity.
It'd be like kicking a rock. You'd be like, hey, that hurt. Both of us, me and the door.
Is The Rock going to be the next US president?
Absolutely. Him and Tom Hanks are running together for the next one. Because now we're fully shot. It's over. It's as over as it could be. The Rock is going to win.
That would be the weirdest remake of Twins.
It can't be this.
Tom Hanks.
It would be a cool movie, I think. Actually, I would enjoy that. It would be fun. And it can't be worse than the shit show we're going through now. So, like, seriously.
You would just be replacing one guy that doesn't know what the fuck he's doing with two others, but at least they would actually listen to advisors.
And they would probably be like, all right, so everything that just happened for the last 4 years, we're going to undo all that shit.
Undo it.
You smell what I'm cooking? Tom Hobbs coming in here, fix this franchise right up. I'm going to put it hurting on him so bad he's going to wish his mama never spread her legs.
Because, like, for Trump to actually make any policies, he's got to watch Fox News, isn't he, first? So,
yeah.
At least,
crazy, yeah.
The Rock might just sit on the couch and let someone else do it for him.
Crazy. I still can't believe
you smell what the Rock's cooking.
Smells a lot like steroids.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
allegedly.
He's a big guy. He's a big guy. A lot of
allegedly is my catchphrase for this show. I say stuff and allegedly.
Allegedly cast.
Allegedly.
Let's see. Oh, well, I'm not going down that fucking rabbit hole. That's fucking racist to me.
That's racist. Oh my god.
I'll end on a random one. Some guy who his Twitter handle is the picture of Ghostface Killer from Scream, so I'm guessing he's a Scream fan or just a wanker. What's your favourite scary movie? We'll end it on that.
What's your favorite scary movie? Oh shit. You want to go first?
Let me see. There was this one that used to scare the shit out of me back in the day. The Evil Dead. I don't know if you remember.
Well, are we talking original one or the remake?
The original, though. Back in the day, I used to be so scared of that shit. My dad used to force us to watch it. But I watched it recently, and I was like, "Really? Is that what?"
Back in the day, though, I remember watching that the first time, and I was so traumatized by it that I almost felt like that night when my family went out to dinner at a restaurant, I was still thinking about all the like chopped up zombie parts and stuff, and I was like, I almost was gonna tell them, guys, I watched this movie that really fucked me up today. But I kept it to myself, like a good trauma victim. And I was just like, oh god, I'm gonna just not tell anybody about this. But it was definitely, that movie shocked you the first time you saw it.
Yeah.
Evil Dead with Bruce Campbell. Jeez. I liked this is the one that for some reason people say hasn't held up over time, but I really liked Event Horizon with Sam Neill.
Nice.
The sci-fi horror movie about the spaceship that goes to hell and comes back and kills a bunch of people. It's Lawrence Fishburne.
That's a fucked up movie,
yeah,
right?
see? And the only reason I tell everybody there's like a big like runner in the film is that there'll be parts where this guy's by himself and the lights will start going out, and when they come back up, there's like this woman standing right over his shoulder behind him, and it's his dead wife. And when I saw it in the movies, my sister had a friend who lived like on our block, like a couple houses away from ours. And my friend lived in a totally different town, like a good 10-minute drive away. But my sister and her friend were so scared, they're like, you have to take us home first. And I was like, okay. So I dropped them off. And then I realize as I'm halfway to drop my friend off, it's just me and him in the car, and I'm like, I get to drive home alone after this. Great. So every time I would drive past the streetlights and the whole car would light up and then it would go dark, I would be afraid to look in the rearview mirror because I'm like, that fucking eyeless bitch is going to be sitting right behind me, waiting to scare me and like make me drive off the fucking road. So it was like full on scared the whole time in the theater, scared the whole drive home, and then when I finally saw it on cable or when it was rentable, I was still scared again because it was just so freaky. That movie was so freaky, and the gore was insane. It was you could go to hell, man. You could go to space and still wind up in hell. Hell isn't just like only on Earth. Hell exists.
For me, it's Bridget Jones's Baby.
There you go.
That's some scary shit.
Isn't it
sitting through that in the cinema.
It's on its way out, right? That's really being made, right? Or did it already happen?
It's already been made, yeah.
Oh, shit. It's already been made. I'm wishful thinking, going, no, there's no way that exists. There's no way that's real.
Scared of shit, though.
Nope, it's real. This is going on. This is happening.
So, I'd like to thank you for coming on the show. You can do one final pimping of all your shit so people know where to find you.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead, man. Pimp your shit.
Okay. Well, if anybody's interested to check me out, it's at BrandedPod.com. Check me out there. And if you want me to produce your podcast show, why not?
It's $1,500 an hour.
$100 a minute.
Just buy me a beer. Buy me a Stella.
Oh shit! Oh man! And I'm with the Hollow9ine Network. It's the word hollow with the number 9, I-N-E is the way we spell that. It's a super unique way of doing it, just to make life interesting. And right now, you can find all of our stuff on Podomatic. We're at hollow9.podomatic.com. But the hollow9.com and hollow9network.com website is launching this month. So keep an eye on that for all of our new stuff. You'll be able to find all of our stuff that's existing will be there and be getting its own RSS feed. Right now we're a mega feed network. So we're treating our RSS feed like a cable station. There's a lot of little different kinds of programming, a little bit of something for everybody. But everybody has unanimously said, we want our own RSS feed. So we're doing it. So check it out. And yeah, lots of cool stuff on the way. So check us out over there.
And I'm Drew Carson, as always, host of the Terraformer podcast. And anyone watching this, time to fuck off.